All the content contained in this webcast is for informational purposes only. The investments and strategies contained in this webcast may not be suitable for you. Please consult your own independent financial advisor before making any investment or trading decisions. Good morning, traders and investors around the world, and welcome to Thursday's earnings-filled edition of premarketinfo.com, where we prepare you for the most important hour of the day, the first hour. Well, Dennis, the S&P's got a nice pop off the week close yesterday, touched the 1390 level, but we've kind of made our way back down to just above the close.
Really popped overnight there, Joel, but we've given most of it back here now. Surprisingly, though, I don't know if it's really earnings that's pulling us back here, because the ones that are reported this morning have been pretty good. So interesting that we're pulling back despite getting some pretty good reports out of some pretty major companies.
Yeah, Dennis, and I will have to tell you, I am, and you can't tell anybody else this except our subscribers. I may be changing my Bears stance here. Yeah. I mean, the earnings are coming out okay, but I don't care about the earnings. We've come down from the 1400 level. We were focusing on that, and now we're really starting to get some resistance here at this 1390 level. Just below it, we hit 1388.75. I think if they can blow through that level, we'll be going back up to the highs. But it seems like the sellers have stepped down to 1400, down to this 1390 level, and it's a big area to focus on today. But moving on to earnings, Dennis, Bank of America beats the street.
Bank of America beats the street, Joel. Beats it handily. I think the number was 31 cents. Expectations were down in the 12-cent range, somewhere in there. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but they beat it by a big margin, Joel. And the stock is popping over 30 cents here in the pre-market, trading $9.22 after closing at $8.92. So again, we're above that critical $9 support level. That's been the number. It's been support on the upside, but resistance on the downside. So I'd expect that $9 area to give you some pretty good support there again, Joel.
Yeah, looking at the pre-market activity, Dennis, we did hit 946. And that coincides with some highs that we had back at earlier in the month at 940. Dennis, I don't know. I mean, this is a big pop for this stock. Anybody that was hoping to get out under $9, lo and behold, here's your opportunity. I think 945 to 950, even though I don't have a big number there as far as an actual stopping point, I'd keep an eye on that, Dennis. I mean, this is a big move, and I think if it can get through there, it won't get any higher than 978 today, but I think that pre-market high is going to be hard to get through.
What was the pre-market high there, Joel?
The pre-market high on the spike, Dennis, was 946.
Oh, wow, that was a big spike, eh? Wow, 946. Yeah, and I think I was looking at the charts. There's a couple tops. They're not a ton. There's one at 940 there from like a week and a half ago, and then we had a couple bottoms in that same area, the 941, 946. So I guess maybe call that whole area your initial resistance, but it's hard for this stock to move 15 or 20 cents just because you have so many rebate traders in there that are sitting there and just basically thickening the stock up. This is one of your, probably your most thickest stock on the S&P. So it will have a little bit more volatility than normal today, but again, this stock is just hard. A 30-cent pop in this stock is monstrous.
Yeah, when it hit that 945, it had a quick drop down to 910 and then went back up to that level. And now it's been in a pretty steady sell-off mode since then. So let's just keep that in mind. Morgan Stanley beats the street too, Dennis.
Morgan Stanley getting a good pop here too, Joel. It's taken out that 18 to 1820 area where we had multiple highs. We had two tops at 1823 and 1824. We're trading substantially above there right now, up at 1850 right now. Joel will be able to hunt down the pre-market high for you. I didn't jot it down. But this stock's got some more resistance up at 19. But man, this is a big spike too. You got to think anybody that was underwater in this thing might use this opportunity to take some profits or to lighten up their position, Joel.
Dennis, taking the words right out of my mouth again here. 1907, Dennis, was the spike there in the pre-market.
1907, man, people get a little bit excited in the pre-market, eh, Joel?
They do it so they can sell stock, Dennis. I don't know how many times I've told you that.
Yeah. And just to explain that again, just for our newer listeners, Joel.
in this pre-market, if you have a large position in a stock in the pre-market, you can bid it up with 100. I mean, if you're long 50,000 shares of this stock, you can bid it up with 100, bid it up with 100. Just really messing with the shorts. And then once your bid's out there, if someone jumps your bid for 5,000 shares, whammo, you can
Yeah,
hit them. I mean,
yeah.
it's a tactic, and that's something you can't get away with in the intraday with the high frequency traders.
Yeah, it's a great point there, Joel. You're exactly right. You can really manipulate the prices in the pre-market, and why not? If you're when obviously there's always the risk, because you shouldn't legally be doing that, but people do it, and institutions definitely do it. They bid up the price and on a stock that they probably have a ton of on a few hundred shares, so it's not any risk really to them to get a few hundred shares more, and then they can kind of basically get everybody to sucker them in to pay a lot higher price.
And also to note, Dennis, 1.5 million shares in the pre-market traded here in
Wow.
Morgan Stanley. So some people are using this as an opportunity, perhaps to get out of some longs. I can't see initiating new longs off this. Just mounds of support here. Was hovering just above the $17 level. I'm looking at the pre-market activity. We need to hold 1840 here. If we don't hold 1840, Dennis, we may sneak back into yesterday's range. Staying along that theme, Dennis, not really, I guess, getting away a little bit from it. American Express had decent
Yeah,
results.
they reported last night there, Joel. The stock really chopped around. I'll let you give the or the after hours high and low. Actually, surprisingly enough, it hasn't even had a trade here this morning. But last night it traded a ton. It was trading up on the initial report, but then sold off and was kind of settling in that 57.50 to 57.70 area, just down slightly. It's offered at 58.03 right now, but there's no takers there. So, and the best bid's down at 57.25. So, I think it probably opened somewhere in that vicinity, but there hasn't been any real pre-market indication here on this one yet, Joel. What were the after hours numbers there last night on that?
It got a pop to 58.85,
58.85, yeah.
and then a quick drop down to 57.21.
Wow.
And I mean, that was within a matter of minutes. And now we're just kind of, like you said, Dennis, there's not a lot of trades going on. But good parameter on a day like this would be the close. To be use that as a swing number. I mean, you have to keep an eye on this double top, Dennis, up above 59, 59.18 to 59.25. Obviously, whoever was selling in the pre-market didn't wait for that number. They stepped out before at the just above the 58.80 level. So I would keep an eye on that. But more something that's going to come into play a little bit earlier, Dennis, is this 58.50 level. We had a couple highs there in early April, and then we hit 58.39 and 58.70 the last 2 days. So that's 58.50. It seems like someone's going to make a stand there today, Dennis. And coming back on the downside, looking at an intraday basis, very close to yesterday's low. If it can't hold 57.95, I'd be reevaluating my long positions.
Do have a couple other ones that reported last night that we should highlight, Joel. eBay, this one had a great report. We hadn't really seen any stocks coming out that just really blew the numbers away and really rallied hard after blowing the numbers away. This one did. It's trading 39.50 right now, so breaking through to a new 52-week high. It was the slow, steady march last night, kept taking out the 37. I actually noticed somebody had some guts there because the number came out. It was trading around the 36.80 to 30, just around 36.80. He came out and bid 150,000 shares at 37 in the after hours, Joel, and then he got smacked on all of it. So he's pretty happy right now because it's up $2.50 from there. So there's a quick 400 some odd $1,000 if he held on to that position. But man, it took some guts to step out with that kind of size. Bid them all at 37, and then he did get smacked and traded below there just a little bit, but kept marching up the entire after hours. 38, 39, actually got as high as 40.25 this morning here, Joel. But what do you think? 150,000 shares. Would you buy 150,000 shares at 37? I
Yeah,
would now.
well, Dennis, he may have been short too.
Well, there's always that possibility too.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I mean, I guess he liked the numbers. Looking at the chart, Dennis. Go to the numbers here. 4073 is a level that was revisited in October of 2007. in the pre-market. We've hit 40 and a quarter. I'd imagine there'd be some position squaring, some sellers between that 40 and a quarter and 40.73. If it can't get up and take out that 40.73, then I think you'd likely see some profit taking. On the other hand, this is stocks really taking off here. But geez, this is kind of pop, Dennis. You got to believe some people will be using this as an opportunity to exit some longs.
Wow, it's just such a big move for the stock. Qualcomm last night reported here too, Joel, and this one really got whipped right off the bat. I think it was down almost $5. I'll let you hunt down the after hours low there. It's trading 64.53 right now, so it is down $2.50 still here even in the pre-market. It has recovered from those after hours lows. What were those after hours lows there, Joel?
It traded straight down to 62, Dennis.
$62. That was a little bit of an overshoot. Man, these earnings, they seem to overshoot sometimes here. Wow. But so we've obviously rallied quite a bit. So you could come in this morning and say, "Oh, Qualcomm's having a really bad day, being down $2.50." But you would have seen it last night. It was down five. What would that be? Down over $5, Joel.
Not the pre-market info subscribers. They know what's going on.
They know what's going on.
I got a good number for you here.
Sure.
$65, Dennis. I mean, it's not really that identifiable on the dailies, but since we've bounced off 62, someone is saying, "Get me out at 65." That's all I can say. I would use that as a swing number if, in fact, it could break above 65. There's quite a bit of air in this. If you really look at the daily charts, Dennis, the 62.87, what we had a low quite a while ago. Just below that was 61.49. But, man, I just don't see this thing getting back down to that $62 level. But use 65 as a swing number.
So many earnings. VMware, I want to talk about this one because EMC reported as well, but VMware reported last night, which is symbol VMW, and that stock had a wild range too. I'll let you hunt that down. But looking at the charts here, obviously this 115, multiple highs up there. You got to think that 115 might put a lid on it. It's trading 114 right now, so approaching there. If it obviously takes that out, when a stock's breaking out and making new 52-week highs, you always want to be careful. The 52-week high is actually 115.19, but we'll call that whole area 115 as pretty decent resistance, at least for the start. But the stock actually rallied, broke down a bit, then rallied again the after hours. What do you think? What were the after hours pre-market and lows there, Joel?
Well, the pre-market low, Dennis, was 109.30.
After hours, yeah, last night, 109.30.
And then you spiked up to 116.67.
Okay, so it took out that number in the after hours, which is significant to note. I took out that 115.19. I still think that number may come into play in the regular session there, though, Joel.
Well, and Dennis, you're exactly right again. After it spiked down and made the low, it's bounced up on 4 or 5 occasions here, and it stopped at 115.
Okay, so that 115 number is coming into play here even a bit after in the pre-market session. So
so keep an eye on that. Really, it's 115. That looks like resistance. I'm sure if it busts through there, you get a little bit of a pop, but it's one of those levels where if it does pop above and then comes back down below, use a tight stop. Seeing minor support at 113 in the pre-market.
I want to just move into EMC. They reported this morning here. EMC, they spun off VMware years ago there, and they do still own a big chunk of VMware. So usually when VMW is going up, EMC usually follows and has some type of pretty good sympathy move. But EMC reported earnings here this morning, and they weren't good. So EMC is actually going the other way. So some pair traders probably going to be underwater on this one. 28.21 is where EMC is trading right now. That's down $1. So you got VMware up $3. EMC down $1, which is a huge move for that. $28. You got this 27.93 low there that we set in April. I think that might come into play, but there's definitely that relationship is a little bit out to lunch here this morning. Not saying it's going to close or anything. It's hard to say, but be aware. You've got two companies that are very correlated, moving in opposite directions this morning in EMC and VMware, Joel.
Yeah, that 27.93 coincides with the pre-market low, 28.15. This did have one spike up to 29.20. I don't know if there's really much of. There was a little bit of volume associated with that. Maybe someone got a little giddy and didn't look at the the correlations a whole lot. But here's a chart. Here's a pre-market chart. It's not really showing a bounce. We're showing it down 94 cents, but it's one of those patterns where it's making lower highs and lower lows. So
Okay.
keep an eye on that $28 level, though, Dennis. That could be a real good number. If that doesn't hold, it looks like there's air in this thing down to 27.
Verizon reported earnings here this morning. So many earnings. We're not going to get to them all, but Verizon's a big one. We talk about this a lot on the show, so I want to cover it. This stock is getting a really good lift. 38 and a quarter right now. It's trading after closing 37.66. That's a 65 cent or 60 cent lift there if I'm doing my math quick. On a stock like Verizon, that is a big move. Usually this stock has a 25-cent range on the day, so it's really exploding here. We got three highs there if you look, Joel: 38.61, 38.59, and 38.56. That's from just late March, early April. And I'm wondering if that's where it wants to go. That whole 38.50 area, call it. We're only 20 cents away from there right now. But just to say, there's a lot of sellers going on 38.30. There's a lot of action here, been happening for about an hour at 38.30, Joel. So I almost wonder if that's putting a lid on it.
Yeah, 38.38 is what a nice number. We hit that in the pre-market. Since then, it's kind of the sellers have stepped down a bit. I would look for resistance there, Dennis, all the way up to that triple top. I mean, this is a big move for this. 38.61 was the high on April 2nd. I mean, you got to believe that there's going to be major resistance there. If not, it's pretty wide open after that. But I'm sure after the stock was under 37 a couple days ago, this is really a gift to be able to exit positions. Just along those lines, AT&T is getting a kind of a sympathy move here, and that's opening into some major resistance at the $31 level.
Yeah, it really is, Joel. 30.95 it's trading right now, so it's up 20 cents, which is a pretty big move for AT&T. So keep an eye on that 31. Might be a low risk short in front of that. Takes out the 31, then I maybe wouldn't want to be short it, but something to think about there for sure. MAR, Marriott International, that's a hotel stock, obviously getting a pretty good lift after hours last night after they reported their results. The stock's 52-week high is 38.82. It's traded 100 shares at 39, so I wouldn't really say it's trading through there. But it's bid at 38.50, so it looks like it's going to open up and possibly into that 38.82 52-week high. 39 bucks, I see a little bit of size to back it up there, so I wonder that whole 38.80, 30 to 39 area might provide some initial resistance. Above 39, I'd look for the stock to start breaking out. 40 is probably going to have some because that's a big hole number.
Yeah, I like Marriott's, so I'm not going to recommend shorting this stock. But being up a buck 17 on 200 shares seems a little bit ridiculous. But Dennis, we've covered a lot of earnings stocks here. We'll be here all day if we covered everyone that came out. But what's a day about if we don't talk about Apple?
Yeah, we always got to talk about Apple. Wild range there again yesterday. I mean, the volatility down a little bit from what it was the day before, but it still had, what did it have, like a 16-point range yesterday? Just a wild stock, obviously. Got up to 620, did a little double top thing there intraday, and then puked all the way down to, what's the low there, 603? Is that what it was?
602.71.
602.71. So it got all the way down to 602.71. Then rallied up there a bit at the end of the day, consolidated, kind of hanging out here in the middle of the range. I think the Qualcomm earnings put a little damper on it because they lowered guidance. So I think that shook Apple investors a little bit because I know Apple sold off about $4 after Qualcomm reported there. So something to think about if Qualcomm's a little weaker. I mean, this thing needs to hold the $600 level, Joel.
Yeah, the Goldman upgrade yesterday seemed to provide a little bit of a bounce, Dennis. Wink, wink. And it got up to that 620 area, which was the level that it broke down from. I'd use 610.43 as a swing number. We did get up to 611 in the pre-market. I expect sellers at that level. If in fact it can get back above 611, there's not a lot up there until 620, but I'll tell you that for the stock that was at 571 a couple days ago, to see it back up above 600, good opportunity for people to square positions. Another one that was a little bit fun yesterday, Dennis, IBM.
Yeah, IBM obviously reported earnings, had a wild ride. I got a trade I was talking about yesterday. I bought the open, got a nice spike up there. I got a point off of it, but then it started hanging out there too long. Thought about this 202 area support for too many times, took it out a couple of times, and then eventually did start to sell off. Got down just in front of that 200 area that we had been talking about. Didn't quite break through it. I thought it might, but didn't take it out. Is up a little bit in the pre-market, trading $200.65. So a little spike in the pre-market, but I still think this $200 area is going to be like a magnet. Wouldn't be surprised if it does take it out today, Joel.
Yeah, no one's upgrading it based on valuation or something like that.
Now I haven't seen an upgrade go by the tape unless I missed it though. What you heard this morning, Joel?
Okay, I mean, if you're, if you held on to this thing and you didn't get into panic selling yesterday, perhaps wait a day or two and might drift back up to that 202, 202.50 level. That's going to be good resistance. Resistance is going to be the gap that we have from 204.07 to 204.10. So pretty defined range here. Pretty heavy volume yesterday. At the trend that IBM took after its last earning reports lasted throughout the entire quarter. So if you get the same kind of result on the downside, you can be looking at this 190 level over the next few weeks in IBM.
Well, that's all we've got time for today. Obviously, lots of companies reporting, so make sure you check your earnings calendar. GE, Honeywell, McDonald's on in the cards there for tomorrow. So you want to be aware of that if you're trading those stocks today, that they do have earnings there tomorrow, Joel.
Okay, folks, let's keep an eye on yesterday's low, 1377.75. That coincides nicely with the Globex low. That is going to be major support. The chance for new highs, guys, is still a possibility as long as we hold there. Below there, things really open up to the downside. And really keeping an eye on this 1390 level, Dennis. This is major, major resistance. If I could get more stars, like going all the way across the page, that's what I would do on our numbers for the SPOOs. So that's our show, and we'll be back with a 10:30 a.m. update.